Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, it's Rebecca Naylor, health coach with Chronically Well Club, celebrating 20 years living with MS in remission. And I'm so grateful to MS&Me Radio and Media for allowing me to be a host of this half-hour radio show every week. It is my passion to really help you discover your own power to heal and recreate your life. So I do this in many different ways, sometimes talking about my own personal experiences as a person living with MS, and quite often interviewing various practitioners and experts and people in my community who I think have things to offer you. And as I'm talking through my episodes, you'll see that I relate a lot of the things we talk about to 9 different keys of healing. And this is something that I've developed to answer the question, how did you do it? How did you get yourself into remission? Because it's really a multifaceted approach. So the 9 keys that I talk about in all of my shows are diet, toxins, emotions, movement, community, cognition, environment, gut, and mindset. So today we're going to be talking about yoga, and specifically yoga for people with multiple sclerosis, regardless of your physical abilities at this particular point in time. So we will be talking about emotions for sure. We'll definitely be talking about movement, and we're going to be talking about the environment in which you practice and also the mindset that you begin your practice with and how that mindset is going to shift towards the end. So lots of different keys that we'll be addressing today. So my guest today is Celeste Shirley, who is my personal yoga teacher and somebody that I have come to greatly admire, who's been a real mentor for me over the past couple of years, making some major life decisions that have improved my health and definitely improved my physical fitness and my mobility as well. So Celeste practices here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous studio called the Yoga House. So Celeste, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very happy to have you here today. So why don't we start with just a little bit of a brief overview, because I never want to assume that my listeners have any background information necessarily. So for somebody who has no idea what yoga is or thinks it's only for, elite athletes or people living in Southeast Asia, can you tell us a little bit about what yoga is?
Okay, it isn't about flexibility. It's actually about stopping the fluctuations of the mind. And the practice that's become the most prevalent here is through movement, through poses. So a pose is a stretch, but it's not. It's where you actually let go and let the pose move you into a twist or a bend or a back bend. And it's the pose that's giving you the levity, the leverage to go deeper. So yoga is the ability to be right in this moment. Yoga means yoking, coming together, body, mind, and spirit. But those are all like the words that describe it. Really, it's like you feel completely here. There's no pulls on your mind's attention. This is often, to me, it feels like a place of non-duality, which means I'm not in the world, I'm the world. I'm with everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. So I can't feel any pull in the pose, I'm the pose.
I think that's one of the major differences for me. Over the years, I've been going to the gym less and less and coming to yoga more and more, because I find if I go to the gym and I'm working out, even though it's very beneficial to my body, my mind is planning my to-do list or replaying something that happened earlier in the day. Yes. Or,
yes.
I'm not really connected with my body, but I find that when I come to a yoga practice, it really is very clear that this is a place to release the busy mind.
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, anybody who's looked into yoga before, sometimes they can get a little bit intimidated by just not even knowing what kind of class to start with, because there's, the Kundalini, the Hatha, the restorative. So, could you tell us a little bit about what those terms mean and how a person can choose an appropriate class for themselves?
Okay, I'll stick to the main styles of yoga.
Okay.
There's Kundalini yoga, which is about energetic breath work. So it's about enlivening the energy in the base of the spine. It can involve that rapid breath work,
Okay.
quite stimulating movements. So it's for somebody that has a good fitness level. I'm speaking very generically. Somebody that goes to Bikram yoga or hot yoga. Some people love it and they swear by it because it's very regimented, very militant, and you follow a specific series of postures which are done in a flowing way. You might hear the word term vinyasa out there. That's a flowing yoga. So you move from one pose to the next. So that's the style of a powerful yoga or a power yoga. Power yoga is a term that's used as a generic name for strong yoga. So it might be like a sport yoga. There might be a lot of lunges or warriors.
Yeah.
That kind of standing, balancing poses.
I think when I first started yoga, I went to yoga classes that were held in gyms. And so, and I sort of see that as like the North Americanized yoga, where it's really yoga where it's all about, hey, if we do this, we're going to get wicked body and good posture and nice round butts, which is a nice byproduct of doing yoga, but not really the intended focus, right?
Yeah, it's not at all.
Yeah.
And yet you will get those things. I'm happy to report.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not about that.
Kundalini I found quite challenging for me. So I've moved into some of the more, because for me, and a lot of people with MS, sometimes we do have the mobility, but we just move at a more slow pace because we have to be quite conscious about movements that are autopilot for other people.
Right.
And we don't always have a great awareness of where our limbs are in space. So doing movements in rapid succession can often be fatiguing both physically and mentally.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that. And because it's not that there's a style that's better, it's always what's better for your body. And I really want to advocate that there is no correct yoga for you. There's a way that you move that's correct. So it's not a style of yoga that is yours. I wish we could stop this whole thing, this yoga war on styles. Like the ego has really entered and it's really, really pathetic.
Yeah.
It's enough of this. Like Iyengar is a very specific form of yoga. Like it's really therapeutic. And it takes 2 years to become an Iyengar teacher.
Wow.
It's very, again, specific.
Okay, so then let's talk about entry level. So for our listeners that are like, I've never tried yoga in my life and I just want to check it out for the first time, where would they start? How do they choose a teacher or a practice or something that's going to be right for them as a person with MS?
Okay, perfect. First of all, maybe a referral, somebody that has MS that's going somewhere and they go, you got to come to the yoga house and see Celeste, or you've got to go see this person at the Y because she's sensitive, she's brilliant, she gives me adaptation, she notices me. The teacher's everything because the teacher is going to tune into you. And in a large class, like there's some studios here in Toronto, you have about 77 people in a class, seriously. And the better you get, the bigger the classes get, and the less they come to you to adjust, which is the whole reason I opened my studio, because I wanted that individual attention. And so I wanted to offer that. So if you need individual attention, keep that in mind. Go to you're going to get yoga everywhere. You're going to get it at Good Life. You're going to get it at your gym. You're going to get it at the recreation center, the library basement. You're going to get it everywhere. Go and date it. Like find out the teacher, find out the teacher's background. They might not have any experience with MS, but they might be such a brilliant teacher that their adaptations and modifications are exactly what you need.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about adaptations and modifications. So this is something that I had to use a lot more when I first started my yoga practice, because honestly, I can remember back when I was 17 and I got my first exercise for MS photocopied booklet from the MS clinic. I thought, this is silly stuff. I don't need to do this. And then I discovered that I actually could not touch the heel of my foot to my butt, because that's how spastic my legs were. I didn't realize that I had such a severe limited range of motion. And so at that point, when I first started yoga, I required a lot of modifications. So you don't have to be fit to start. You start wherever you're at.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so as far as modifications, I would go under that and say, listen to an ability, an enthusiasm that's there. And if it's not there at all because you're just symptom riddled, then listen intuitively, sensitively to something that prompts you, something that says move this. So first of all, be your own modifier, of course. It's just that that's really imperative, and that's the essence of the practice, is you're really feeling how to move within yourself, and it is an enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it should be a space where you feel safe to listen to your body. I know there are times in class when I'm just feeling, you know what, I'm tired and I need a break, and I just go into child's pose, which is
Yeah.
basically just relaxing, lying on the ground with no effort. Or there are other times, like today, when we were doing eagle pose that released the shoulders, I was like, this is amazing. I really need this today. You went on to another pose, and I'm like, I'm staying here.
Right on. Right on.
I
Yes.
really need this right now. My
Yeah.
hips are good. So
Yeah.
it should be a place where you feel safe to not be judged and to be able to listen to your body and do what
That's
is
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Let the teacher keep providing the room for you to do what you need to do. Yeah, that's imperative.
Let's talk about some of the specific symptoms of MS that people might be experiencing and how these can be relieved, lessened, helped through a yoga practice. I know that you have a lot of experience working with people dealing with different conditions that have chronic fatigue, which is of course one of the major symptoms of MS. So how would that be helpful for yoga?
Yeah. Okay, so you mean using yoga for the
Using
fatigue
yoga,
aspect
yes,
of it?
to help,
Yeah.
like to work with a person who has fatigue
Yeah.
or to help improve a person's energy level.
Okay, I sense that the most challenging thing about fatigue is there's always this feeling like you've got to pull up your socks, like you've got to get up or you've got to continue. And in yoga, you learn to stop doing that. You learn to stop feeling like you've got to get over the fatigue or buck up, get stronger. So the surrender aspect, where you're letting go into the fatigue, once you do that, the surrender aspect, the big exhale, the release, actually releases a lot of fatigue, because a lot of fatigue is just trying to keep going.
Right.
And that creates muscular tension and tension in the fascia, all the connective tissue surrounding the muscles. So if you can really let go, then a big part of your fatigue could stop.
And it's very counterintuitive,
It
but
is.
it definitely works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember again back when I was 17, I was working with a social worker at the MS clinic back in London, and I'll give a shout out to her, Kathy Lee Benbow, because I just saw her a few months ago, and she's still so special to me. I remember going to her and talking to her about fatigue when I just started university, so I was 19, and I was like, I'm just so exhausted. What can I do? And she basically said, get on a treadmill. And I swear I wanted to slap her across the face. Because I was like, I'm telling you I'm exhausted and you're telling me to exercise. But as with most things in my life, when I think they're wrong, I try and prove them wrong. And by doing that, I actually prove them right. Because it really is true that when you're tired, if you can allow yourself to be in a situation with a gentle thing like yoga, you are able to get enough benefit from it and enough movement and blood flow that you sleep better.
Yes.
And because you sleep better, the next day you wake up and bam, more energy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
very counterintuitive, but does work. I can definitely vouch for that. So let's talk about the environment. One of the reasons why I've referred several people to come to this place is because I think you have created, from what I've seen in Toronto, the most beautiful yoga studio I have been
Thank
to.
you.
You're very lucky, privileged to have a home in this beautiful area where you're looking out to a tree-lined ravine. You've got these beautiful glass doors opening onto that space. And I know when I practice here in summer, you've got the windows all open and the fresh air coming in. And just the way the space is decorated, you walk into the room and you feel a shift. What's happening? What's happening to your energy there when you walk into that space and you feel a shift?
Yeah, there's a note that you're coming into because you're harmonizing, because you're directly connecting to nature, and because the French doors are open and the forest is right there. There's a note, and all the musicians listening will know.
Okay.
And you actually go into a different, I'll say gigahertz for my lack of way of describing it, and
Yeah.
you get toned, and you attone into a harmony that does you, and it takes over. So
Well,
you
because
start
we
to-
are energetic beings, right? And spaces
Exactly.
have energy. I mean, really, when it comes down to physics, there's no separation between me, this coffee cup, and your leg and this pillow. It's just one bubbling ball of energy touching
Yes.
another bubbling ball of energy, right? And so when you
Exactly.
walk into a different environment, there is a physical shift in your body because the energy that is in the air touches your energy and shifts it. And I definitely have noticed this, that over the years, I've experimented with doing yoga at home. I thought I'm too busy or I'm too tired to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do the practice at home rather than making that big effort. And I never do it. I do a few sun salutations and I'm like, meh, meh,
Yes.
I'm done.
Yes.
I'm not feeling it. And
Yes.
I think it's because of that energy that's in the environment.
Yeah. So when you walk in, when you connect to nature, then you feel a sense of expansion. So yeah, environment is key. Now let's say, okay, so here's beautiful. You're in nature. But let's say you're at home and let's say you have a basement apartment. You can't even bring your arms over the head without touching the ceiling. That's okay. Light a candle and focus on the flame. That's a practice in yoga too. And that's what I did in my life when I was in major transition and I wasn't living anywhere. I was homeless, so to speak. And my daughter was 8, so we were in between. We were in transition yet again. Having the candle, just something that I'm focusing on, and it's setting the tone for the space. So you don't need a big, beautiful space, although everything's going to show you sand dunes and waterfalls. You might not even be able to light incense because the whole family's sensitive. There's tons of things that you don't need any of that. All of that is a concept. It really is. I mean, yeah, it's fantastic to have a vista to practice, a beautiful view of nature in a ravine. Right. It's that it's really inside. So let me just give you an example. When I was in Thailand, I think it was 101 degrees the day I left. Yeah, and I did my practice. I did my practice every day. It's 90 minutes Ashtanga routine. And then the next day, we had an early flight. We made a stopover in Japan. And so I always do my practice at a stopover because it's usually about 2 hours and my practice is 90 minutes. And I start in my mat in my laboratory and I get on it in the middle of the airport, wherever I can find the biggest window. And you know how much airports are air conditioned, especially in Japan. Right. In Japan, ooh, it was freezing. Right. I had just as great a practice as I did the day before in a pretty beautiful space in Thailand at 101 degrees. Now I was in an airport, people going by looking at you like you're a weirdo and cold. But the heat's from inside, so I used my locks, I kept my abdomen tight, used my focal point, my drishti, and did my practice exactly the same as in Thailand. It's an interior focus, right? So that's how you're cultivating the heat and the attitude for the practice. It's not the environment. Now, there's no question you need a teacher or instruction until you're doing it inside. I still do. In my 90 minutes, if I don't do it somewhere where there's a witness, my ego will go into, oh, look at the lint on the floor. I should have vacuumed. I'll go, right? I'll go into that. And we do. Yeah. Or we'll notice our toes and think, geez, I need a pedicure. Like we'll go into stuff. If you're in front of a teacher, no pedicure, no lint, right? And so if I do my yoga at the gym, or if I do, which sounds crazy, but I do because I love to do it. So I do it everywhere. And when I do it on the beach, which I love to do, I love the vista. But tell you the truth, I mostly do it on here at the yoga house because of the ravine. And when I'm outside, I have a way better practice because my ego is knowing people are seeing. I connect to nature. If I'm doing it in my studio, the doors are closed in the winter, I'm less enchanted. And then I put my teacher on. I have a 90-minute routine. I still follow David Swenson, and I do that. I love David Swenson. Yeah, he's my guy. So.
I didn't know that. So when I first experimented with doing yoga at home, I literally just went to some random store and I was like, I need a yoga DVD. There was like 5 of them and I'm like, David looks cool. And I bought, and I still have his yoga short forms DVD that has like the little 15-minute routine, the 30 and the 45. And that is hilarious because I found for me, it was the same thing because I can't recreate this place that you have here in my living room. Exactly. I try because I am an artist and a creative person and I like to have visuals and, the nice aromas of essential oils and all that kind of stuff. But there's still a lot of distractions. You're in Downward Dog and you can see the dishes that need to be done.
Exactly.
Right? So I find that if I can't get to a yoga studio, I'm totally the same. I throw on my David DVD.
Do it. And sincerely, it's rare that we'll develop the capacity to be that concentrated. And I also highly recommend Gaiam TV. Now, I think it might be $149 a year. I'm set up now that they just take my money at the end of the year, I noticed. And I've never recommended anybody outside of, some fantastic teachers that you can get their DVDs like David Swenson's.
Okay. I'll check it out.
It's just, Gaiam is brilliant because they have, I'm going to say maybe 200 yoga classes, Pilates, and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Okay, so can we
Yeah.
talk a little bit about stress and emotions? So, a big part of why I practice yoga, why many people practice yoga, is not just for the physical benefits, it's for the emotional benefits and the spiritual benefits. So, with multiple sclerosis, I've talked about this in many different shows. Stress, stress, stress. That's what we really have to minimize in our lives. And I
Yes.
do like to take any negative and flip it onto the positive, because instead of saying avoiding stress, we can just as easily say chase joy,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Chase
Yes.
joy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
coming to a yoga studio and having a practice like this, there's a huge shift in emotions. I mean, sometimes there are times when I don't want to come here because something's going on in my life. I'm rushed. I'm like, oh, it's rush
Yeah.
hour, whatever.
Exactly.
But by the time I finish the practice, there's a complete transition. So walk us through that. What happens?
Okay, perfect. Thanks for this because that's brilliant. If you first of all schedule it like office hours, it's a must. No, it's non-negotiable. You work everything else around it, and if your day crashes, you have a backup time. So that's required.
Oh, yeah, it's in my calendar
Yeah,
every Monday, Wednesday, and
yeah.
Saturday.
And
Yeah.
then the emotional component that convinces you that you can't because you're having anxiety or your symptoms are at their peak and you can prove it, that's when you most need to do the practice and you modify because then you learn to rely on yourself. That's key. And also, the practice of yoga, no one tells you this, it brings up all the emotional stuff. So one would think when you get on the mat and you do all those pretty poses that are at the front of the yoga journal at Loblaws in line, you think, oh, I'm going to look beautiful or I'm going to feel really fabulous afterwards. You might be a blubbering ball of like blah.
Yeah.
You might be in a lot more anxiety because you opened up a piece in your solar plexus in the interior brain, the belly, and you've opened up a lot of tension. No one tells you that. And
Oh, yeah.
that's a big part of the practice. Now, the good news, so to speak, is that once you open up all that guck, then you might be fantastically freer in an hour or a week or tomorrow morning. So you are undoing muscular emotional tension. You can't separate them, they're identical. And we know this now from the body and the connection. So particularly in the belly, the solar plexus, and you'll hear the term enteric brain more and more now. 90% of your serotonin's coming from here,
Right.
and it's more predominant than your brain. You are getting how you feel from there more than
Yeah.
your brain, and now this is a fact.
Absolutely. So the emotion actually starts in the gut, and then the brain interprets it.
That exactly.
Yeah, and that is so connected to this whole idea of autoimmunity in general, because
Yes.
it's funny. I was teaching an essential oils class last night, and I asked the people in the class, does anyone know where the immune system is? And they all just went to say, oh, of course, and then they suddenly realized they don't. Where is it? Like, I know where the brain is, I know where the heart is. Where is your immune system? And a lot of people don't realize that about 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut, in your
Yes.
stomach, in your intestines.
And in every cell of your body.
Yeah, I mean, it's throughout.
It's like consciousness.
But the
Yeah.
core of it
That's right.
is in the gut. So when people
Yes.
talk about gut feelings, yeah, the
This is
feeling
true.
starts in the gut.
That's right.
And your immune system is in your gut. And so when you think about stress being a trigger for autoimmune conditions like MS,
Exactly.
it's all connected, right?
Exactly.
The emotions and the
Key.
physical.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to leave, we've got a couple minutes left for the interview portion, and I know that Celeste, you are in the final stages of writing a book, which I'm super excited to get my hands on when it comes out in a few months. And one of the reasons I love coming to your classes is because you're not just a yoga teacher in the physical aspect, but you're also a storyteller, and to me, a very, very intuitive and inspiring spiritual leader. So I wanted to give you the last couple minutes of the show just to share with us any final thoughts that you might have that can be of benefit to our listeners.
Oh, fabulous. Okay. Inside your body is a knowing that you live, and you can call this cellular intelligence energy, but it's intelligence. And listen to whatever's going on in your body at all times, and then override it with a brilliant a genius that knows that you can be maybe a little bit more than that. There's some enthusiasm that MS or autoimmune diseases might diminish, and you might feel like it's over. You might feel a lack of oomph that you had before, and almost a diminished capacity to know what you can do. It's not true. It's that if you can listen just under pain or symptoms sincerely is a truth that is guiding you. And if you can listen into that and gently build on what you can do, that will help you to keep going and move through the most difficult days. because it is really difficult to have an autoimmune disease. It's not straightforward, the symptoms. And so learning to rely on yourself is going to be listen and do as much as you can, gently, intelligently, every day or 6 days a week. I'm a huge advocate of movement, and that could be sitting and breathing, moving the belly, because that will help with emotional anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, there are times I invited a dear friend of mine to join me at Celeste's class last week, and this friend of mine is post-concussive. She had a very severe concussion about 2 years ago and is still looking at how much she will or will not be able to do in a movement aspect. And I said, Celeste is the safest person to practice with, because even if all you do is lie on the mat and breathe for 90 minutes, it will be perfect. And that's exactly what she did last week.
Right.
And you came over and you helped her with some subtle adjustments and giving her some pillows and, giving her a little bit of extra stretching, but just allowing that space for her and honoring that, listening to her body, that was the limit last week.
Yeah.
And that was just beautiful. And for me, that's what I love about yoga, is it really all is listening to your body, listening to that inner knowing, that trust, that intuition you have at a cellular level that tells you, how do you need to move to feel good?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, because I haven't even asked you yet, what is your book going to be called?
It's called The Intelligent Body.
The Intelligent Body. Okay. So if you're listening to this in the future, you can look out. Hopefully it'll be published by the time you listen to this. The Intelligent Body by Celeste Shirley. So thank you so much, Celeste, for being a guest on the show today. This has been such a pleasure. So just a few words to close up. If you enjoyed this episode, I do my best to bring you really amazing guests like Celeste, who have a lot of expertise and wisdom to share with you. So please follow along. My show airs at this time on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock, replays throughout the week, and then all of my episodes are archived on my host page, so you can listen to any of the previous episodes if you want to. I do work as a health coach with people with MS and other health conditions all around the world, virtually or in person, and please feel free to reach out. So you can find me on my main website at chronicallywell.club, where you'll find links to my Facebook video blog, my Instagram feed, my YouTube channel, some information about some fantastic essential oils that I recommend, and some neurotechnology that's very beneficial for people with MS to use, that's available in a very accessible form. And that technology is called Vox, so you can look out for the Vox link. And I also happily give workshops and speak at any events you might be planning. So please let me know if there's any way that I can help, because I'm very passionate about serving my community.
Yes, you are.
Thanks. So, and I really sincerely do appreciate feedback and questions. So if you have a question for me or a question for Celeste, feel free to reach out. So you can reach me at Rebecca, Rebecca, at chronicallywell.club. And if someone wants to reach you directly, Celeste, how can they reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me at theyogahouse.ca.
Perfect. All right. And your contact information is all there.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us today, everyone. Create an amazing day for yourselves and be